You know what I realized today? That church is just a book club that never moves on to another book.
I used to think if I couldn't find hope, I should just let it all go. I used to think if I couldn't make dreams come true, I should just let them all go. When life seems impossible, look from a new angle, change just one little thing. When life feels intolerable, find your true source of love. Concentrate, focus on love. Center now, focus on love. Dedicate, focus on love. Focus now,
I'm gonna be real. I don't really have any plan for this episode today. Usually, I sit down, I've got some notes, ready to go. I've got nothing. This morning, actually, is what it is. I record most episodes at night, end of the day, mind full of daily experiences and thoughts. Trying something new today. I just got out of bed. It's also 1 p.m. But it's my day off. Horrible sleep last night. I feel like nothing makes me feel alive like a bad sleep. That's when I know this is real. I can't just power down and power up. Toss and turn for a bit. Start getting frustrated. It's not a headache, it's just like a frustration in your head. Eventually you fall asleep. And then for me, I woke up twice. Middle of the night, still dark out, back to sleep. Woke up again, still dark out. Check the phone. 5 a.m, back to sleep. If it was 6:30 in the morning, I could have at least checked my stocks as the markets opened. Got into stocks during the Rona, the shutdown here. And I would recommend it to everybody listening, getting into the stock market in some capacity, because for me, I've never been able to save money. Just horrible at saving money because I hate money. I don't like it. And I don't want to have it. I don't want to hoard it. I don't want to partake in that lifestyle. So whenever I have extra money outside of my bills, then I want to spend it. I want to go out for dinner and have a nice dinner. I want to buy friends drinks or spend it on other people. Just spend it. I don't need it. I've got my bills covered. But that's really not the wisest way to live, because I'd like to buy a house someday, maybe something like that. I'd like to have 20 cats one day. It's probably expensive. I'll at least need a bigger house. And so $0 in your savings doesn't help that usually. And I think that this pandemic was an eye-opener for me in that sense. I was lucky enough to have a stable position in my job, even in an unstable industry during this time, that I didn't have to worry too much about it. But it was eye-opening just thinking about the positions that other people and coworkers, frankly, were in, which was now no job and no savings, and you don't know when your next check is going to come in. And luckily, the Canadian government here was fast to act. There'll probably be some things to clean up in a year's time, but they made sure that immediately everybody was going to be okay. $2,000 here, $2,000 there. Opening up, obviously. Just REI, employment insurance. It was great. Good for them. And so for me, I was like, wow, I should maybe have more than 17 cents locked up in case I lose my job. And I also figured that this is the best time to get into the stock market because A, everything's going to go down. And then B, you have to assume everything will go back up eventually, whether it's a year or two, it has to go back up. And if it doesn't ever go back up, then I think I'm going to have much bigger problems than the money in my investment account when society falls apart. I knew nothing about the stock market, so I did some research for a month or two, and I realized I was right. Everything went down, and it was a great time to jump in. However, I missed that boat because it was a pretty quick 2-month turnaround, and I didn't get involved until mid-June. That being said, it still worked out well for me. Stocks are still on the up. There's a lot of stocks out there that you can just put money in and you know you're gonna make profit over the next few years. And again, back to the savings thing, is that's all it is, or that's what it is at its bare minimum. And if for nothing else, do it for starting a savings account. You know, I've got on my bank, my mobile banking app, I've got 2 accounts, my checkings and my savings. And whenever my checkings gets low, if there was anything in my savings, I'll just transfer it right back over. Takes 10 seconds. I even have it set up where $75 will transfer over every week. And once a week, once every 2 weeks, I will transfer whatever's in there back into my checking. So that money never stays there. It's too accessible. It doesn't work. But with this, I'm using Wealth Simple Trade for those here in Canada. It's free. You can open a TFSA and then bam, you transfer money into it, and it's more difficult to just transfer that money and use it because you have to obviously take it out of there, get it back into your bank, and then once you buy a stock with the money that you put in there, now you have to sell that stock, then take it out, then transfer it over, blah, 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 blah. So I've got the most savings I've ever had in my life. And it's just happened over the last few months, and it's all due to getting into the stock market. And it has nothing even really to do with the profits. It's just the fact that I'm putting money somewhere else where I am not accessing it. And I think that kind of situation, the stock market, seeing things up and down and it being enjoyable and honestly fun, leads to wanting to put more money in there. Instead of keeping that extra $100 or $200 after bills and things are taken care of, I want to transfer that over. I don't want to use that for a rainy day. I'll just stay at home for a rainy day. I've got enough things already for a rainy day. So now I'm actively like, oh, I've got some extra cash here. Bam, let's move it over there. So do it. Save yourself some money, get in the stock market. And if you are going to get in the stock market, I would recommend buying Well Health, the Vancouver-based telehealth company. They've been on a huge tear the past couple months. Obviously do your own due diligence, but that's my recommendation. And then outside of that, one that everybody knows, Pinterest. They've been on, they've also done me well. They'll do you well. Do your own due diligence. I feel like every time I do a recommendation, I could almost always pick a song. So what I want to do going forward is separate songs from the recommendations, and each episode I'm just going to tell you the song that's been my most frequently played since the last episode. So hopefully it's a song of the week thing and not a song of the last 3 months. In this case, Sam introduced this to me. It is Colors by the Black Pumas. And oh my goodness. I first heard it about 10 days ago. And no joke, every single day since I've listened to it at least 6.5 times. At least. And that's going to continue for a while, I'm sure. But that's the song of now. The sun, the shining sun for this episode is Colors by the Black Pumas. And I'm sure I can find a way to put together a playlist of all the songs of now. And in a year or two, we'll have a pretty banging playlist. Bangers only, of course. But check that out. And if you have any songs that you would like, that you think I would like, send them over to me. There's the Twitter, Done With Life Pod. There's the Instagram, Done With Life Pod. There's the Gmail, donewithlifepod@gmail.com. One of those isn't what I just said it was. Oh, the Twitter, Dylan with Life PC for podcast, I think is what it actually is. But yeah, reach out to me. Any songs that you think I would enjoy, send them to me. And if, maybe they'll become the shining sun in our lives. I haven't eaten yet this morning. And I don't know if you just heard my stomach grumble. But I'm never more excited to eat than the first meal of the day. And I think I don't know why that is, but what I'm trying to say is brunch. Brunch has got to be one of my top 5 human experiences. And I've probably already mentioned this because brunch is that special to me. I think more and more I'm realizing that with a busier and busier schedule and not so much time for myself. You know, even the free time that I do have, people are trying to see me and I'm trying to maintain those relationships. And so it leaves even less time to myself. I'm realizing like when I do get that time, I really want to just go for brunch. And if somebody does want to see me and they want to go for brunch, that's like, I can do that. That I have the energy for. Brunch is just a good time. If I'm ever on death row and they're like, what's your last meal? I'm like, kill me tomorrow. Let's just go for brunch first. If I'm stranded on a desert island, I can only bring 3 things. It's brunch. Brunch and my cat. Could you imagine how valuable? Nobody ever says a cat or it's probably the most valuable animal to bring with you. It's going to catch you food. It's going to give you companionship. So definitely a cat. Maybe like a bigger cat. It's going to live a little longer. But yeah, brunch and a cat. And I think you'd need a notepad. A notepad with a built-in pen so that you can get around the multiple objects rule. And a notepad with like 1 billion pages. Because I think if you don't have a way of getting things out of your head on a deserted island, you'd go insane. And then if you ever get found, you'll have your memoirs that you can get published and be rich. So I think that's it right there. I'm on a deserted island, 3 things. Brunch. Just broad brunch. A cat. And the largest notebook ever manufactured. I wonder what, to date, the longest I've gone without talking to a person has been. And then on top of that, I wonder how long I could go without audibly talking to another human. I've certainly gone like a week, probably. Just under a week. And I could probably go probably go the rest of my life. But I do think that would devolve into some form of insanity. It'd just be this. It'd just be me rambling to myself. But don't worry, I talked to somebody on the phone this morning. So I'm not there yet. I always worry if I would know if I was insane. Like if I was schizophrenic. What was that movie? A Beautiful Mind? Great movie, but he's got that friend that isn't real, that he doesn't know isn't real. First of all, how would I know if one of my friends or one acquaintance wasn't real? And would it really matter if I went my whole life never knowing? But then there's the thing, like, what if none of them were real? What if none of this is real? What if I'm sitting in a room somewhere? Everything that I'm experiencing from my job to my friends to everything is just in my head. Because there's no way to prove that one way or the other. Whenever weird things happen or deja vu, maybe not so much deja vu, but whenever there's weird glitches, things that seem like they shouldn't happen but happen, it's like, is any of this real? Am I actually like in a pod somewhere, sleeping hooked up to some Matrix style energy thing, and I'm just creating this entire life? Again, it wouldn't really change anything. However, if I knew that, I would be taking much more risks. I used to see this one guy, probably around 8 years ago now. I was living a city over, and I'd be taking transit in to work, and I would see this one guy probably twice a week in the most random places, like places hour away from each other in like 4 different directions. Like I would just see him everywhere. And he asked me to use my phone once, let him use it. He was like kind of crazy. But I never saw him when I was with anyone else. But on my regular commute, I would see him multiple times a week. And I think that's where that thought first started is this just part of my mind being bored, doing the same thing every day? So it's created this character that I see and at least on one instance interacted with? No way to know. And then I look around my house now and it's like, is everything how I perceive it? Do other people that come in here perceive these things the same way? I've got these 2 little bears. They're actually not that little. They're like 8 inches, 10 inches, 10 inches long. Just these very pretty bears. But that's how I see them. Is it possible that there's these like ugly, roughly carved wooden bears? That's how I see them. Everybody else that comes in sees them. I'm like, what is that? Like, nice bears, dude. And I'm like, yeah, aren't they? I don't know. Did you guys see this video of the dude getting chased off by the cougar? Not to take away from that experience, because I was getting chills just watching it. I couldn't imagine how terrifying that is. But that also looked like a pretty small cougar. So, I mean, I probably could have taken it, but I understand why he was scared. But for real, 6 minutes. In any type of situation like that, you know, a minute feels like forever, 10 seconds feels like forever. I can't imagine what 6 minutes of that felt like. That's got to feel like a day of, am I about to die? And not even like, am I about to die? Like, am I about to get ripped apart by a cougar and left to bleed out while it eats my thigh? If you haven't seen it, just Google cougar, and I'm sure it'll come up. But basically, this guy's on a run in these trails in Utah, and he sees... It's definitely his fault. The video starts with two cubs, 50 yards, whatever it is, in front of him. And you can tell he's already seen them, and he's pulled out his phone. And I think he sort of starts to walk towards them a little bit. Like, he definitely wasn't like, oh, cougar cubs, I should nope out of here. He was like, oh, cougar cubs, how close can I get? And then, yeah, this mama or older sister or brother, because it's really not that big compared to what a cougar can be, comes running out of nowhere, and then it bluff charges him like 20 times, and he's crying. Pretty crazy, though. I would feel much more afraid of a big cat than a bear. Or a wolf. Or really anything out there. I don't think there's anything as scary as a big cat. When you watch this video, you'll probably watch it on YouTube, and these YouTube ads are getting vicious, eh? They just don't stop. The one at the end of the video, that's been around for a little while now, I know, but that's the one that gets me. I gotta race to pause videos when they end, because I'm not trying to hear that. Don't wreck my zen. Manscaping. But there's two unskippable 15-second ones to start. Oof. You just watched yourself a quick commercial break in between videos. Any video longer than like 4 minutes has an ad plugged in it. And it's interesting because that's the way the world really operates, right? Is ads. Like, that's why things make money. That's why sports are what they are. That's why they're mega billion-dollar corporations, is because they can sell you things. They can sell ads to Bud Light and all these different things, and they're just ads plastered everywhere, and that's how sports make more money. Like, you see it on football or soccer kits. They've got ads all over them. And it's starting to spill over into North American sports. Basketball just put a couple of years ago an ad or a company on the front of their jerseys. It's all about being able to sell ads. That's why Facebook, that's why these big social medias have so much money, because it's such a great way to put ads out there and to sell people things. And I think that's been sort of the strangeness of the internet. That's how I would monetize the podcast, is when I can finally start putting ads in it. Like, that's what makes money and generates money, is ads. Whenever you if you were to start a website and it were to get big, you would start making money off of it by putting ads in it. And so I think YouTube and the internet was started just to be useful to people and things that people would use. And then, you got to make money somehow. And the companies realize, oh, I need to stop paying to put ads on TV. Everybody's on YouTube anyway. Let me pay to put ads here. And YouTube's like, yeah, please. We'll take all the monies. But I think that's what's interesting, is currently, at least, something like Netflix doesn't have ads. But I imagine the more that this movement away from network television and things like that happens, you're going to end up with some sort of ad on Netflix, whether it's just on the sidebar while you're scrolling or something like that. But that's a huge way for them to monetize. And any similar company that's starting up, they're going to have to get ads in there, or there will just be a company that's like free, but it has ads in it, doing the same thing, offering the same services, but there's ads in there. I don't think we're all going to be able to pay $8 a month just to not deal with ads anymore. Eventually the money will get too big, and these companies will fold into what they said they never would, because you got to make money some way, or more money some way. Or they'll just be Netflix free. Netflix free. Try it. For free. Also try a Bud Light. I don't know why Bud Light's on my mind today. I don't think I've ever had a Bud Light. I don't think I ever will. What's the point? There's so much beer out there. Speaking of so much beer out there, still October, still sober. We are the 14th? Almost halfway through. Or not, I guess. The 31 month, apparently. 31 day month. I said that last episode too. I said, I don't know how many months are in September. And since then, I've learned it's only one. Yeah, we're almost halfway through. And the urges, I don't think urge is the right word, just the interest in having a beer. Like I've got my fridge has beer in it. There's a joint somewhere in my house, I'm sure. And when I see them, it's not like, oh, I want to do that. It's just like, oh, that'd be nice. I work at a brewery. We did a fresh hop event this month, of course. So that was shitty, but I toiled with it the first month of doing the sober month and just avoiding everybody and everything so that I'm not tempted. And I don't think that does as much for you, obviously. I think maybe sometimes you need to do it that way, or some people will need to do it that way, but when you can, which I started last year, still partake in social events, still surround yourself with it. That's when you really see that willpower and really know that, yeah, you don't need to be doing it. So that's still going on. And as far as benefits that I've felt to this point, I want to say I sleep better, but I already told you I slept like shite last night. But in general, over the last 14 nights, I have slept better. It's easier to go to sleep. I can do it more peacefully. Usually, I've got to put a podcast or something on, have some noise. I've been able to just sort of lie there. My thoughts don't torment me the way that they usually do, and I think that's maybe because I've spent 2 weeks with them now, for the most part. So, I don't get to bed and be like, oh, I've been avoiding all of this. Like, I'm in bed and it's like, what have we been thinking about? What's on our mind these days? Oh, yeah. The fact that I have no idea what I actually want to do in life. That's been getting louder and louder. Like, I'm 27, almost 28, and I've had multiple career paths already. I did carpentry for a few years. Then I did sales. Switched to sports data tracking, or data tracking, if you're one of those people. Now I'm a chef, ops manager, but it feels like all the excitement and motivation at these places dissipates after 2 or 3 years. And then I start to feel trapped. And then my mental health deteriorates, and then usually a big period of change, and then happiness for a bit, lots of character building, and then repeat. It's so cyclical, it's almost funny how I can see this pattern, how it's gone the same way. And I think it's because maybe I'm not changing enough. Maybe the things I'm changing aren't what needs to be changed. And now I'm thinking maybe I should just travel around the globe. Just do 2-year working visa after 2-year working visa. I met somebody named Matt at my current job. He's gone. He's gone now. But he did something really similar. He was taking 2 years here and 2 years there and 2 years here and 2 years there, and he came here for 2 years, and now he's off again. And him and I were really similar on a lot of things, a lot of good conversations, a lot of similar interests, or at least thoughts on the world. Probably quite different people when it comes down to it, but similar where it matters. And yeah, maybe I think if I run into this cycle again, or if I do this cycle one more time, it's time to really sit back and be like, fuck, maybe it's Vancouver. Or maybe it's just the fact that that's what I need some freshening up of. Because the job that I have now and the job I had before, they're actually on the same, or they're within the same 2 streets, both between Ontario and Quebec, but like 7 blocks apart. I went through this whole change and upheaval, and I'm still commuting to the same zip code. And I think that maybe I would certainly learn a lot more if I went to a different country or a different province. But I think for the sake of really experiencing something new, if that's what I'm getting, I get so bored and content, or I guess I don't get content. Really seeing something new might be what's up for me, but of course, there's a pandemic, so maybe not today, but eventually. I worry that I'm not taking this pandemic as seriously as I should. And not in the sense that I'm those people that you hear about down in the States having sweet 16 birthday parties and infecting 200 people, but just in the fact that, we're everything's pretty normal for us here for the most part, and I completely assume that maybe we've got another couple months of this and then the world just goes back to normal. But that might not be the case. Who knows? Who knows? Not me. That's for sure. Not I, said the guy. Recommendation? Whenever I hit a lull, it's good to be able to fall back on recommendation. For me, recommendation this week, this episode 19? 20? Episode 20. Episode 20 of the podcast, everybody. We made it. We're approaching 1 year since the first episode went out. That's going to be in about 8 or 9 days, a week, basically. Which is kind of exciting, except I figured that I would have 52 episodes out once I hit the year mark. So we're slightly under that. That being said, they were going to be around half-hour episodes, and there's been quite a few hour-long ones. So as far as the time put out, we're still well under. But recommendation from me, for you, from me, to you, is a board game. Wow, a board game. How cool. It's a board game called Subterra. If you play board games, get it. If you don't play board games, get it. Just get it. It's a cooperative board game. It's a board game you play with friends and you stay friends. Actually, that's a lie. Basically, there's no board. There's a bunch of tiles. You pick a tile one at a time. You build the board as you go. You're in a cave, so there's routes. Every tile, it's either like a straightaway or a turn or a 4-way or a 3-way or something. You pick the way you place it. You and your friends, or you and your 3 other selves as you play 4 characters by yourself, because you're somebody like me, I guess. You're trying to find the end of said cave, which is a tile, which you know is in the bottom 6 tiles. And you're just running around, having fun, swimming, building ropes. getting chased by things called horrors, which you can just call whores or horses. Anyway, big board game guy. That's my newest one. Been playing that a lot. And it's great because you can play it with 2 people, you can play it with 3, you can play it with 4, you can play it with 1. And yeah, it's nice to, I play most board games, you're against the people you're playing with, and that can be like, you've been such a bitch. Whereas just with these cooperative board games, it's like, oh wow, we're great friends. Obviously, the choice isn't always obvious, and whoever started it gets to make the ultimate choice, and everybody gets to give their input. So you're still going to get mad at each other because you're like, you dumb bitch. I said, go left. So Subterra, recommendation, board game. Play it, try it. Tell me if you enjoy it. Tell me, what's your favorite board game? Tell me, what's your favorite brunch? I'm not one of those sweet breakfast brunch eaters. I don't really want French toast with chocolate and straw babies and whipped cream. Give me eggs. Eggs for sure. If I'm having brunch and I'm not having eggs, I'm going to be pretty upset, to be honest. It's going to be far from an excellent brunch. Give me some sort of meat. Pork belly, probably. And give me potato. Some sort of potato. I think shredded hash browns are greatly underrated in the world. A range of textures from soft to crunchy to both to mixed. Season them any way you want. Good on their own. Good with a little bit of ketchup, which I think is a brunch staple. Good with hot sauce, also a brunch staple. So let me know. Reach out. Dylan with Life. There's a Twitter. There's an Instagram. There's a Gmail. dylanwithlifepod@gmail.com. Feel free to send in audio clips of questions or stories or anything. I'll use it. I'll put it out there. We'll talk about it. Shout you out. I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and we have a provincial election coming up here in 10 days to the day, I believe. And I know, I was looking, 79% of my listeners are from Canada, and I imagine probably 75% total are from BC. So vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. I don't care who you vote for. You can vote for yourself. Just vote. If you think you'd be a good leader, start talking to people. Get yourself on the ballot, or at least make sure people know that they can write you in. Just partake, because that's the only way that democracy really works. But I'm going through the book 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. My favorite author, great author, Sapiens, Homo Deus. And he was bringing something up, saying that maybe not everybody should have the right to vote. And I was like, whoa, hey, whoa there, cowboy. And then he was like, some people are fucking dumb, and you shouldn't let them vote. And I was like, yeah, you're so right, dude. So definitely go out and vote, but don't go out and vote if you're dumb. No, but an interesting thing to think about, I'll leave you with that. Should everybody actually have the right to vote? And I'm not talking about women not being able to vote or black people not being able to vote. Obviously, it shouldn't be a discrimination to a group, a race, or orientation of people. But should the 22-year-old dude in some random rural city that has never once thought or read or put any time into politics or knows even who the candidates are or anything about their platforms or what they're meaning to do, and just knows vote blue to stay true to you for good. Like, should he be able to vote? Should that vote really count? Is that telling us anything? Probably, but I don't know. Something to think about. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go have some brunch. Eggs. I don't know what kind of meat I have in the house. Maybe bacon. Oh, green bell pepper. Green bell pepper also brunch staple. Dealing with life. Love y'all.
You can have it all.
Still fuck the Houston Astros, but I don't want the Rays in the World Series, so I kind of hope the Houston Astros can get to the series so that we can all watch them lose on the biggest stage.
And remember, it will flow back to you.
Oh, Dak Prescott. I am a football team fan, so I hate the boys, and I will always hate the Cowboys. But I hope you get better soon, because that shouldn't happen to anybody. Wishing you well.